Gabra, who is on phone to deal with an aspect of the conversation we're having. Cecil is a transport analyst, an expert, actually, a roads and transport expert. And for you, Cecil, I know you've heard us talking about COVID-19. There's a fitting angle we're bringing in this from, because Okada riders, when you look at the latest statistics in terms of accidents, they seem to be faring well. But these operators are now telling us that when they get their Pillion riders, they tell them to don the helmets, but they refuse because they are afraid that it's being used by a number of people and they could contract COVID-19 from them. Let's start the conversation from there. We have law, what the law says, and the Pillion riders are doing something else. How does that wash on you? What's your take on that, to start off with you?
Thank you so much, and I'm happy you brought me on this particular issue.
It's always
right. It is true. I have also found out that this is what most of the Okada riders are saying. And however, they are not even supposed to operate as Okada riders. It's an offense. If you look at the airline, it's stated so clearly, right? But then this is what they are doing. And I feel this is so wrong for the general public who are mistakenly seated on the Okada as Pillion riders to say so. They should put on masks for their own safety. Wear your mask and then put on the helmet. But then if the Okada rider himself is putting on his helmet, and then you, the Pillion rider, who is wrongfully seated on the motor bike, is not wearing the helmet, and I find it so wrong, very, very wrong. Already you have committed an offense by being a passenger, and then in fact I think the two of them must.
So both the Okada rider and the Pillion rider are breaking the law. But the point is that Cecil, we know they are doing it anyway. So let's look beyond that, because the laws have not caught up with them. I mean, sometimes you see them go, MTCT officers are at the traffic intersections, whatever, they let them through. So let's live with that reality for now. But the point being that in flouting law 1, they are flouting law 2. Both of them must don crash helmets. But the excuse is, oh, we're afraid of catching COVID-19. And look, the reality is, I've had an experience before. When you sit there and you have to don this thing, sometimes so many people have worn the thing and it's so sweaty, it's so smelly, and you're afraid of all those things. Yes, the law says you must don it, so you will don it. But for those who say will not don it, what does that really mean?
Well, I think they are wrong, and then they are risking their own life, just like we are all saying now. In the case of COVID-19, it is you and your God. If you are not protecting yourself, definitely you will catch it. So it's much better to put on. I mean, if I'm a Pillion rider and I'm going to take behind an Okada, the best thing that I'll do is rather I'll put on double mask, okay, and to save my life. One, in any case of contracting COVID-19. And then secondly, I would rather prefer to even wear some parts sit behind the motorcycle. So they must wear, it's you and I, we all have to wear the mask and save our lives. That's the best thing I can say.
You would don a double mask and then put it on and all of that. Beyond that, in terms of enforcing the law, at least for the second aspect, that is ensuring that they are using crash helmets. Interestingly, I've been seeing a lot of them doing the right thing lately. So I find it interesting that the Okada riders are saying Pillion riders are refusing to do it. But in terms of the legal framework, how do you think we can manage this?
Well, I know the LI is being amended, but I haven't seen the part that talks about Okada. But then, for me, forever for it that Okada must be banned. I mean, it shouldn't be a situation where life should be lost on it. So, if COVID-19 has come to stay with us, and this is also the situation, then I feel it's a good opportunity for the law enforcers to make sure that if even your the rider's brother seated behind as a pillion rider, you must wear your mask to save yourself from contracting COVID-19. And then, however, this must be part of the laws if LI 2180 is being amended.
Cecil, we are immensely grateful for your time. Cecil, Executive Director and Founder of Top Tech Transport and Logistics. You have a busy schedule this morning. Thank you for making the time for us, sir.
You're very much welcome.
Great. I'll come back to you, Dr. Osai. So on this beat, I mean, you've heard the response. I just want you to wrap up with two comments. One has to do with the bit that Cecil just spoke about, the helmets, and people saying, we don't want to contract COVID-19, and so we are not going to don them. And then in terms of COVID generally, what would be your take, the measures you would have us adopt so that we don't end, on the wrong side of the scourge?
So from what Cecil just mentioned, you see the grave knowledge gap for these riders. And there is what we call hazard management training for driver courier riders, which has a component for infection prevention control and bike safety and bike security. So what you expect them to do is to apply the same infection control measures for surfaces and also for hard substance like the helmet. It means that at any point in time, you must have sanitizer, you must have tissue, which is placed at some vantage point. Whenever somebody wears that, he has to spray around, use the tissue to clean those surfaces and make sure that it's safe. And also by close of the day, when you take it home, you have to make sure you wash the soft parts, dry it, and then you reuse it again.
Dr. Kwapong, is this practical? I mean, look at our Okada riders. I mean, how many of them have you seen carrying even sanitizers? To talk of carry all these things you speak of. Let's be practical. Is it realistic?
Well, it may not sound so, but we have to do this for the good of all of us. They have a concern. The concern is that their fear is that people may contract this and others don't want to wear it. But what do we do? So we must put in some level of support, especially in this era of pandemic. If you have to engage them and train them and put in some measures to ensure they abide by it, it is good. So if you have a party which has a concern, then you also have to find out what you have to do to lead them along the line. If they don't have that, then of course it could be a requirement that if you have an Okada moving, you must have this in your car, sanitizer, you have a small tissue. You must train people of how best to conduct themselves. It may be a bit theoretical, but what do we do in the midst of this? You can't prevent them and put the lives of people in danger. So we need to balance this and ensure that at least you put on your masks, you also try and sanitize the hard substance surfaces, and you also ensure that at least on 2 or 3 days, you make sure the soft parts are well cleaned and well washed to allow use. We can think through this, and the transport industry, minister with all the hierarchy for GPRT and all the other management members along the line can have a policy and have a manual and have some standard operating procedures to guide them as they go through this, so that we'll be able to at least help. And don't forget that this will not only prevent COVID. We're talking about monkeypox. Monkeypox is a virus, and it still can be destroyed by these same sanitizers that we are using and by adopting good infection prevention control measures. Influenza is also there. The rainy season is circulating. So we are looking at multiple things within this period. So it is better for us to begin to put in these measures so that we can reduce the impact of this. And in case it has to happen, we know how best to at least deal with it.
Dr. Michael Owusu, thank you so much. And pardon me for calling you Dr. Kwapong. Dr. Michael Owusu there sharing his thoughts on this all-important matter. We're very grateful for your time. Now,